recognizing what I defined letting go as meaning. My therapist had asked me this a few years ago, and I realized that I defined letting go with failure and I don't care. That's what that meant. If I am not trying to control something, that means I don't care about it.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. I have my new best friend, Kati, with us today, and we are going to talk about control. Now, we as high-achieving women know how to control things, and our lives are controlled, and we do everything with purpose. And sometimes we also need to let go. And it's a hard one for me because I am definitely a control freak. And some people call it just plain old stubborn, but it's like, do it my way. So I know there's others out there that are going to understand the depth of I am stubborn and in control and how difficult it can be to put that to the side and to allow life just to flow. So Kati's going to help us with that. But before we get started, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor when we come back. Kati, help me stop being such a control freak. We'll be right back. Hey, since I rarely have openings in my coaching schedule, I have a new resource out there on my website. It is called the BFF Coaching Network. And I have offered a spot there for any coach that has been on the show to list their coaching. You can go out there, you can listen to their episodes, you can feel a little bit about them, and then choose a coach that will work for you. So LaraJaneLayton.com, the BFF Coaching Network. All right, Kati, the information about you is in the show notes. So let's get started. Talk to me about control, because I know I feel safer when I'm the driver. Like I know where I'm going. And have you ever been on a bouncy road in an ATV in one of those side-by-sides? If you're driving, it doesn't feel so bouncy because you got something to hold on and you're prepared. You're the passenger. You get shoved all over the place. And you're like, slow down, dude. So I feel like that's sometimes how we do it in the world. If I'm driving, I'm not being shook around, but everybody else is. So how do we make that balance?
I love that visual too, because there is something about being the driver versus the passenger. And that's why control is so interesting, because it's a very precarious relationship we have with it, right? If we talk about control, like having your life, quote unquote, under control, sounds like a good thing. You know, if you go into a kitchen and someone's having a party and they're like, don't worry, I've got everything under control, we feel good. Yay. But if we hear, oh, your boyfriend is really controlling, suddenly it's a bad thing, right? Someone else trying to control us. And that's really what I would call like an important piece to highlight within the conversation about control, is that all we can control is ourselves. We can't control other people. When we try to like push our locus of control outside of ourselves, that's when it becomes toxic. And so it's kind of recognizing the places that we might be doing that, and also even internally where it might be harming us because we're so in control. We're not really allowing for life to happen. We're not really allowing maybe for joy or for changes. There's a lot to unpack. Control is a tricky thing.
It definitely is tricky because without it, I mean, out of control does not sound fun. But but at the same time, it's right. I can only control me. And we can try and control others. We might succeed because they chose to go do it our way. But it's not really success because you can't change that. It can happen the way you wanted it to, but it didn't change. So how do I let go of worrying whether it was done my way or not? Is that into that micromanaging part?
Yeah, control can definitely look like micromanaging, because we can feel like there's only one right way to do things. And I have to be honest, one of the best pieces of advice I received before I got married was from my mom. And she said, even if they're not doing it the way you want, you have to let them do it because there's going to be some days you're going to need that help and you don't want that help to not be there. And I say that obviously my mom's talking about a marriage, but I think that's all relationships. Is like if we insist on doing everything ourselves to make sure it's perfect and it's exactly the way that we want, it's in control and it feels good, we don't allow others to really be a part of anything. And I think that's kind of like a side effect of control that I didn't realize until even in my own therapeutic work. Um, this kind of revelation that, hey, if I am controlling everything, if I'm micromanaging, what am I like robbing someone else of? Or what am I potentially robbing myself of? Because we all need help sometimes. We can't do everything ourselves. I mean, by a show of hands, I think we all can say we've come into like a roadblock where we've tried to do everything ourselves and we're burnt out, we're exhausted, we're resentful. And that sullies not only the relationship with ourselves, but with others.
Wow. Yeah. And I was just thinking about it. If I can only control myself, I am the passenger in your life.
Mhm.
So everywhere or anybody I'm interacting with at the moment, I have to think you're the driver and I'm going to be bounced around. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel uh, out of control because I don't know where you're going next. And I never thought of it that way. It's like, I need to approach people like they're in the driver's seat when I'm asking them to do stuff, even though it's up to me in the long run.
Well, and that's that urge to take it back, right? As soon as we give up a little control, we're like, oh no, I really don't want to give that to you because it can feel like things can happen that we maybe don't like or don't want. And something that was really helpful for me was to start paying attention to the things that really mattered. And I know you might be like, but everything matters. Does it really matter how the towels are folded? Does it really matter which route they take to get to the restaurant? Does it really matter? There's certain things that we can try to control and try to make sure happen just the way we want. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make or break something. And so it was really helpful for me to consider that and to kind of journal about what I value in my relationships, right? Like, what are the things that are really important? And I know you might be thinking, Katie, this doesn't even connect to control. It really
Yes, it
does
does.
because if I'm trying to control everything, I essentially can control nothing 100% because
Mhm.
it's so spread thin, right? And then I don't really feel like I'm my best self either. So instead of trying to do everything, I'm going to place more emphasis on the things that are important to me. There might be specific things in my life that I do want more control over, or I do want to be in the driver's seat versus a passenger. And there's other times you can let someone else drive for a little bit. It's almost like in a road trip. If I'm driving for more than 7 or 8 hours, I am not the best driver. They should switch roles. The passenger should become the driver. I should become the passenger. And you have to figure out where in your life you can be okay with, even if it's uncomfortable, you can tolerate being the passenger for a little bit.
And you go back to when we taught our children how to do dishes or vacuum the floor, you kind of cleaned up after, but you didn't tell them they were doing it wrong. So, oh, that was great. Now, next time, let's do this too. And so you're constantly, by taking the time to do it, sure, it takes 2 to 3 times longer at first, but eventually it gets to be somebody else's job. And that happens at the workplace and everywhere. I mean, there's not a CEO out there who doesn't have a succession plan. As to what's going to happen if I go? And those are the things we need to be prepared with is what's going to happen if I go? And that is a wake up call that you're not in control all the time.
Yes, I agree. And you're right. It's also not only does the CEO always have a succession plan, but they also delegate tasks, right? No CEO is also doing accounting and mopping the floors and, making the coffee run. That we can't do it all because then it's almost like one of my girlfriends, this is a great example. One of my girlfriends had her second child and came out to dinner one night, and she was such a high achiever. She planned parties for a living for this huge hotel chain. And she had told me, you know, so I'm just, I'm getting back to work after taking time off from the baby. And I just feel like I'm failing at work. I'm like, I just can't give 100% anymore. And I'm like, of course you can't give 100%. You don't have 100% to give to work anyways. You have some for your children, some for your husband, and some for yourself, and then some for work. And that realization for her was like, it was a hard truth, but almost a validating truth as to why she felt like I can't give it all anymore. And I think when we try to control, we try to give it all. And we put all of this extra energy into activities or situations in our life when we could probably get away with giving less, because that just leaves room for more life. When I'm being the control freak that I am, like, for example, when I went to college, I had my first ever roommate, and I was a super neat freak. And my friends to this day will say, like, "How come you're not a neat freak anymore?" And I'm like, "It was beat out of me." Because I couldn't be. I had to share space, one room with another person who was not the same as me with stuff like that. And, through, I guess it's like just through the practice of realizing I couldn't, because if I cleaned up after her, she didn't like that. Like, why are you in my stuff? It forced me to let go of that. And to be truthful, it was kind of a relief because I'd never really felt relaxed. I think all of us might agree that when we feel like we're keeping things under control, we're super anxious. We're very stressed out. It's a lot of pressure on one person to feel like they have to do it for everybody else and themselves.
Wow. Because yes, I do that.
We all do, right?
It's
It's
like,
so uncomfortable, but we do
wow.
it.
So how do we stop doing it? Do you have, I mean, I know for me, it's one tiny thing at a time because my brain can't handle doing this huge readjustment. It's like, I'm going to switch this one thing when I'm comfortable with that, and then another. But where should I start?
That's a great question. And control is tricky because I find it's like whack-a-mole. When I think I'm like, oh, I've understood it here, it pops up somewhere else. And so there are a couple of pieces. First is figuring out why you control. Learning the why can sound like it maybe isn't something worth putting our effort into, but it's really telling. Okay. So for me, in my experience, the why behind my control is because it started when I grew up. Okay. And I know people be like, therapists are always talking about childhood. It lays the foundation for a lot of things. Can we change the blueprint that we were given? 100%. But we have to realize what it is first. And for me, it started with the fact that my dad worked away from home a lot. And I was a daddy's girl. I wanted him around all the time. And because in my little kid brain, I couldn't understand that he had to travel for work. That was just what he had to do. So I internalized, if I got better grades and was better in sports and got the first chair in band and did all of this, then he would want to be around more often because he wouldn't want to miss out his straight A student, his top performer, and all of these different things. And so I started to try to take quote unquote control over all the things I could do to try to bring my dad home more often. Now, as I'm sure all of us can see, that's not going to happen, right? That's not how the world works. My dad wasn't able to change his work schedule, but I still internalized that if I hustle harder, then I've earned that love, that I've successfully achieved my worth. And so I tied in my brain worth with productivity. And that for me is the why behind this urge to control. Because I feel like if I'm productive, if I do a lot of things for you, if I do a lot of things for my friends and my family and my everybody, then I'm earning my worth. Then I feel better. Even though I in the long run I don't, it's the way that I think I'm going to get there to feel better. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it'll be different for everybody. That's just where it comes from for me. And I through conversations with other people online and in my life, I think that's a pretty common connector that we feel like we have to earn our worth.
You were the straight A student. I was the barely passing student. I got through high school barely, and I got to college and started having straight A's because there was different expectations and different ways of teaching. Not that I'm trying to make up for my I'm not trying to brag. But the sense behind it is I always have felt like I have to work harder and longer to make up for my deficiency of not being able to spell well, not being able these things that I know are my weakness. I don't like to read a lot. I'd rather listen to a book. I don't like, where's those balances come in? And so I worked harder. So that lady that you are to your friend that it's like, I don't have 100%. I tried to give work the most because if I failed, I lost the income that kept the rest of the family together. And so that was so critical. So everything else went to the wayside because I was worried that money was the most important. Now, I've changed my priorities since then, and that's not it. But you get to that mode because of it. What are you trying to make up for? There'd be people that go home at 5 o'clock, and I'm going, oh man, and I got 3 more hours worth of work. There was nobody but me telling me that.
Mhm.
So it's like trying to look like I had everything together when on the inside, I thought maybe I didn't.
That's the thing is control makes us feel like, oh, everything's fine and we're doing it all. It's okay. I have this wonderful job. I'm making a good living. Look at me working extra, right? And nobody was telling you had to work 3 hours extra, but you were telling you almost that like it's that old story that you're so comfortable with. Like I had my own story, right? But yours is like, I have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And so I need to be here and I need to do this. I need to like prove my worth because everybody's counting on me, you know? And so everybody has their why, has their story, has their reason for the control. And I find once we know that, then we can work to shift it a little bit. Because, like you said, you can't do all or nothing, and that's not sustainable. And we all need to have a little bit of, anxiety reduction. So we don't want to just let it go. Um, but I think figuring that out gives you a place to start because then you can see, like for me, it was tied to my worth. So then my next step is to try to figure out why do I think so poorly of myself? Why is my confidence so bad? I'm talking to myself in a really nasty way. Maybe I should start noticing that and changing that. And for you, I don't know, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but just it could be that like maybe I need to recognize that story that I have to work extra hard in order to get anything I want. Maybe we have to start challenging that conversation that happens. I'm sure in different scenarios, there's a different version of that same message that you have to work extra hard to get maybe
Oh,
other people get easily.
yes, but we all have one of those.
Mhm.
And it's how do I finally identify what it was? Why did I feel? And I can't remember how mine got identified. But when I realized that, it was like, oh, I'm trying to prove something to myself, not anybody else. And so, how do we find that why?
I call it being a detective about it. Like, be curious, not judgmental about your behaviors, especially when it comes to control. Like, I know it's easy to say, oh, I just don't like other people cleaning my house. I clean it the way that I like it cleaned. Okay. What would it mean if you couldn't clean your house and somebody else did? Okay. So we're curious. What would it mean? What would it feel like? Well, they just don't do it exactly right. Okay. So you're anxious if it's not done right? Hmm. Let's be curious about that. So you're feeling it's what we call downward arrow questioning in therapy. It's essentially like, if that, then what? Okay. So I feel anxious. Okay. So you're anxious. What are you worried about? Maybe I don't want people to think that I don't know how to clean my house. If I have guests over, that will bother me. Okay, so we're worried about what people think. Okay, so if people think you don't know how to clean your house, then what? Well, then they'll think that I can't keep up with anything, that I'm not good enough, or I don't know. I'm obviously making it like a quicker version, but I encourage everybody to kind of consider okay, if that, then what? Okay, if that, then what? What would that mean? What does that say about you? Or what do you think that says about you? And it takes, I'm going to be honest, it took me quite a few weeks in journaling by myself, asking myself those questions to figure out where this came from. Now, therapy can sometimes expedite that. My therapist has a great way of like poking in with a question that I'm like, I'm not quite ready to hear that or realize that. But through journaling and just being curious, not judgmental. We're not here to say, I can't believe you think that, or that's so stupid, or why are you anxious about that? That doesn't make any sense. No, we're going to just be curious. Interesting. Okay, I could see that. So then what? And see where it takes you. It might take you a little while, but that can help you figure out your why. And sometimes you might hit a roadblock for a little while. Like I had a tough time figuring out, but I have to always work hard. I have to be the best. Why? I couldn't figure that out for a while. And then I had a revelation, just kept asking myself questions about it. So engage in conversation with yourself. I know that sounds wackadoo, but we know we have all the answers. We just have to keep asking.
That's what I like about journaling and automatic typewriting is ask yourself the question and then just brainstorm.
Yeah.
Here's some of the things. And it's so funny the way you can come to the answer by the end. Like,
Yes.
whoa, that is it.
Opens up whole different parts of it. You're like, where have I been tucking that away? 100%. And that's why I love journaling in general. And I try to incorporate it as often as I can. I'm not an all or nothing person. So I don't have to do it every day, but I try to think of it as often as I can and make time for it.
Yeah. And you're talking about house cleaning. And I know for me, that was also a thing that would bother me because they didn't put things back where they were. Like, oh my gosh, can you not see where the soap goes? Didn't you just move it? And so you'd come home and I'd get all frustrated because the soap was on the wrong side of the sink. Oh, big deal. How long does it take me to move the soap? Less than 1 second. How long would it have taken me to clean the sink? At least 2 minutes. So I just saved myself time. And that's what I had to do with the house cleaning thing. I started having to, in order for me to get it where I want it, it's only taking this much time. And I just saved myself 2 hours. And then the other thing about house cleaning is I would always clean before they would show up. People would make fun of me and they'd go, why? And it's because I want to do the things I don't mind doing. And if they're in the way of her doing the rest, then I've wasted my money and her time. So it's like I'm not cleaning so that she sees it clean. I'm doing the things that I enjoy doing so she can do the ones I don't.
Yeah. And that's fair. You're opening up time, right? It was almost delegation in a good way. These are
It took
certain
a
tasks
while
I'd
to
like
get
to do.
used to it. But we can, and that's the cool part about control is eventually you can get to a point that you understand you still saved time. You still saved sanity. Maybe you got to spend more time with the kids or the husband or the work activities or something because someone else helped you out. And those are the kind of control things that are great to give away. Go ahead, do the things you love. Get rid of the stuff you don't. Someone else can wash my toilets for me.
Yes, because those are things we don't enjoy doing. And I think for a lot of us, especially if we're like high performers and we kind of have maybe caused ourselves to be burnt out or at the very least a little worn out, and is to, not only free up some of that brain space, but also to recognize that when we aren't pushing and pushing and pushing and controlling, that we can kind of enjoy things and we can allow other people to help. And there's this piece, is a lot to unpack for people, but it's like, then the guilt can come along that like, oh, but I didn't do that and I let somebody else, like if people offer help, it's really hard oftentimes for people like us who are control freaks to accept that help. And if we do accept that help, to not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, I have a hard time with free help. I don't feel like that's fair.
Even if it's offered. Isn't it?
Yes, I feel like I need to pay for it.
We have to pay, we have to earn it. I have to earn it, earn the help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's like the kind of not the final piece, but like another step in the right direction of letting go of control is like, how do you manage that guilt? And the thing that I tell myself, and I don't know if this is helpful, but I think of guilt. So I love court crime documentaries. I love it. And in a court of law, if someone was found guilty, what does that mean? I asked myself this question. It means that there is evidence to support the fact that I've done something wrong. First of all, I had to commit a crime or do something bad. And there has to be evidence to support it. But when we often feel guilty about accepting help, we haven't done anything wrong and we don't have any evidence really to support the guilt. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's not really guilt, even though we're guilting ourselves.
We call it guilt, but what it is misplaced responsibility. It's that feeling that I am the quote unquote responsible one that takes care of everything and everybody else. So therefore, for me to let you do it, that doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm responsible for that. And if I let you do that, then I feel weird about it. And we've internalized that discomfort or that weirdness as guilt. And once I realized that, it was a little easier to, instead of saying, why do I feel guilty? Because I could tell you all the reasons, because I should be doing it. I should pay this person. Picking me up from the airport is so inconvenient, blah, 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 blah. Instead, if I ask myself, why do I feel responsible for this? That's different. I get a different answer. And it tells you kind of where it's coming from. It usually ties back to your why, like, because, like you said, I should pay somebody. I shouldn't do it for free. Well, why? Well, if they offered and they have the time and they seem happy to do it, why do we feel responsible for that?
I don't know.
I know it's tricky. Control is tricky because, like I said, it's like whack-a-mole. It pops up in all kinds of ways, and we hold ourselves in it, myself included, a lot of times because of that guilt. And me realizing it was misplaced responsibility, I don't have all the answers for it yet, but it has definitely helped me recognize that I didn't do anything wrong.
Mhm.
And that has felt a lot better. Like, one of my girlfriends said this to me, and I've tried to carry it with me as, other situations in my life. She's like, why won't you let me do something for you? Because it makes me feel good.
Well, and I expect everybody else to let me just do things for them.
Yeah, because you want to, right? We overfunction. We're the ones that pick you up from the airport, help you move. You need me to watch your kids, I can watch your kids. You want me to take your dog, I could take your dog. We'll do all the things. You need some cupcakes for the bake sale, I got you. I'll do that. We will overcommit, but then not let anybody else return the favor. And sometimes it's helpful for me in my like people pleasing, over functioning brain to be like, but now I'm robbing them of the ability to feel good. Like they can take care too. They can do something nice in that reciprocation that we really do need in relationships.
And as we're talking, I'm wondering if mine's a little bit of shame, of I want to do this because if I don't feel good enough. And then somebody else is going to think I'm less than. And, that shame cycle of you're just not good enough. And so I think that sitting here talking, that's probably it for me. And I know we all have different things, but I cover up my weaknesses so people don't see them because I'm ashamed.
Yeah, because it feels it's too much. We want to keep it to ourselves. So we
Everybody
overfunction.
to think I'm perfect.
We all do. Even though we all know we're not, but we can feel this pressure to perform, to be this ideal self. And it can keep us stuck and keep us exhausted and burnt out for years, and it is tricky to untangle, but it's been really, it's a challenge, but I have to tell you, it's been very freeing to let go of little bits at a time. Another thing that was really helpful in this process of like, quote unquote, letting go of control is recognizing what I defined letting go as meaning. My therapist had asked me this a few years ago, and I realized that I defined letting go with failure and I don't care. That's what that meant. If I am not trying to control something, that means I don't care about it. And I didn't realize that because a lot of people will say, well, of course, you know the definition of letting go. You can look that up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your internal definition.
Right.
How do you think of it? Because the fact that I connected it to that, I was like, oh, that's why. Because if I do care, it was almost like I was trying to show love through control, which is not, a lot of people can't receive it. I think most people don't receive it that way.
Yeah, that takes me back to like I'm a quitter. Uh, Well, it's good to quit some things, you know? It's good to let go of some things. It's good to release. I mean, sometimes I try to avoid that word let go because to me, I see that person hanging on the cliff. Just, I'm going to drop a million feet. I got to hold on. I got to hold on. And let go is scary. I don't know why I associate easy let goes with that hanging on for dear life, but I do.
We all do. It's scary. And that's again part of that like curiosity piece. Like, what are we afraid is going to happen? If I don't control this, and it can be different situation to situation, right? Like if we think we're controlling something at work, are we worried that what's going to happen is we're going to get fired or we're not going to get that promotion or we're not going to get that bonus we thought? I mean, whatever it could be, but it go again, it's going to track back to that why. And that was almost like the my head exploded moment in therapy where I'm like, it all tracks back to me like earning my worth, thinking I'm not good enough if I don't do more. And that, well, it's rough. That's again the whack-a-mole. In the letting go meant that then I was essentially admitting that I'm not perfect and that I am not okay, or that I'm admitting that I don't think I'm the best or something like that. You know, that vulnerability piece that is so uncomfortable.
Analyzing that word, they might not think I'm the best.
Mhm.
And it's like we are all so different. You know, one person's going, their favorite fruit's going to be watermelon, and another one peaches, and another one apples. And we have different favorites. And I might want to be the best, healthiest, sweetest, juiciest peach in the world, but there's going to be people that don't like them.
Yeah,
And I cannot judge my ability of being a peach on someone's disdain for peaches. I
exactly.
can just love being a juicy peach.
And 100%. It's just takes us some time to get there sometimes and to recognize that we are special and unique because of all of our strengths and weaknesses. It's what makes that juicy peach so delicious and unique. And, you know, and we have to, I think sometimes we have this idealized version of what we feel like we quote unquote should be. And I always tell people, don't should all over yourself. You know, you're going to ruin it. But we do it all the time. You know, I should be this, or my house should look like this, or my job should be that way, or I should be this successful, or blah, blah, blah. And all of that pressure essentially to be somebody else, to look like somebody else when there's room in our world and our world's actually a better place when we all are whatever type of juicy fruit that we are. You know, that we can get the full spectrum from plums to kiwis and
And
everything.
maybe you don't want to be sweet and you want to be a tomato. That's okay.
That's perfect. We need tomatoes.
I know because I like salsa.
Same, same.
Oh, and you know, I really like this because I think we've really been able to look at control in so many different facets, you know, how it affects us, why it gets there, ways to possibly start moving it to where it's not as important to us. But I think it's okay to be in control of you. And also learning what things you want to control in you. And those are your whys. Why do I want to work all these hours at work? Why do I want to make sure my kids have the best education? Why do I want to? Those whys are going to help you make sure you're controlling the things that are going to matter the most.
Exactly. Things that are aligned with your values. Something I wish we talked about more as humans is identifying those values so we can make sure we're living in alignment with them versus feeling like we have to value everything. That's over or nothing. It can feel very all or nothing versus what if I just put a little bit more emphasis on the things that are truly important, the things I truly value.
And a value statement is amazing because you can put it somewhere where you can look at it and you can go, does this support my values? Because it gives you a moment to remember what you have decided you are. Now, if you want to change your value statement in 2 days from now, that's okay. Change it. It's you. but it's the idea of having it gives you that tool to better align your decisions and your actions with what really matters.
Exactly. It's essentially living what people always say, like living in alignment.
Hmm.
And I can promise you, as someone who's trying to practice more of this, I'm not perfect by any means, but I do feel lighter. I do feel less stress. And I do have moments where I want to grab the control back. And then I remember that that's actually not something that's that important to me. It's better to just let it go.
Yes. And I'm going to start loving this word, let it go, because I'm going to quit pretending like I'm hanging over a cliff. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to let go,
And
and it's
let
going to
go.
be a balloon floating up into the air, not me falling on the ground.
Yes. Because most of the time when we let go, our feet are on the ground already. We just didn't
Yep.
realize.
It's just a balloon floating away, and it took no effort at all, and there was no fear.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fun. All right. So then, if, all this control, I mean, it kind of goes into it could be imposter syndrome. It could be so many of these things that we do at work, um, people pleasing. I'm trying to think of some of the others. Is really why would you people please unless you wanted to have some kind of control over the situation?
100%. One of my uh, biggest, I guess, kind of slap in the face feelings in my own therapy was when my therapist told me that people pleasing isn't really about them. It's about my discomfort with upset, with conflict. And I used to wear it like a badge of honor. Like, I please others. I'm a people please. It's such a nice thing to say I'm a people pleaser. But she was like, it's actually kind of manipulation. And I know we talk about manipulation like, oh, it's such an icky thing. We all do it in different ways, you know? And people pleasing happened to be my manipulation of choice. Because if I could get you to be happy as much as I could, by the way, I have no control over that. Thought I did. But you act in certain ways to try to get someone to quote unquote be happy, then and only then can I be okay. And so it was really my attempt to take control of other people's emotional states, that over responsibility. Yeah.
We want to be liked, and the being liked, it comes from way back when, before we were cavemen, If you didn't have a community, you were kind of died. You didn't have the support. And it's inbred in us to try and get along. But we don't have to get along with the people that don't get along with us. It's okay to have tribes, and I'm the woo woo corporate person, and you could be, like,
Uh-huh.
we just go to the people that fit for you. And there's less reason to control at that point.
Yes. Yeah. And you are correct that a lot of times our survival counted on other people liking us and us being part of groups. And so it does feel a little scary to not do it. But trust me when I tell you that you weren't making them happier or like you more by doing that stuff, anyways. And when I've stopped people pleasing, I was able to actually build real relationships based on who I actually am, not who I thought they wanted me to be. And that definitely feels better. It's uncomfortable at first, but it does feel better in the long run.
When you can finally only wear a me hat instead
Yeah.
of the work hat and the wife hat and the mother hat is when you can become one personality, when you are authentic to who you are. Oh, it's so freeing. And I know I have a lot more to go, but just the progress that I've been able to make has been such a relief to have that peace, to know that I don't have to please everybody. That was many years ago. My husband and I had got to a point where I didn't think I could make him happy. And it's like, I just sat down. I says, you know what? I can't make you happy. So I'm going to stop trying. Go find someone who can make you happy.
Yeah.
And we both changed at that moment. He quit being as sad and manipulative because you're not doing this right. And I quit trying to make him happy. And now it's been 36 years, there's a point in life where you just we still say it, like, I'm just so sad. And I go, well, I can't make you happy. What can you do?
Only you can make you happy, right? And sure, people can create scenarios that you enjoy, but you have to be in a position to enjoy that and decide that you wanna be happy.
Because you can have the best day. I've been one of them. This day, had I decided to have a good attitude, would have been the best day in the whole world. But for some reason, Laura Jane decided to be bitchy.
It's totally true, though. It's all mental because our brain is wired to like for confirmation bias. So if we're looking for the things going wrong, it's going to find them. But if we're looking for the things going right, by golly, it's going to find those too.
I like the go right. I'm working on keeping my brain in the go. And, we're in that world of duality, right, wrong, up, down, good, bad. But in trying to move into it just is.
Mhm.
And quit labeling it because it's how it makes me feel. It might be good for me, but it might not be good for you. So it just is. And we're going to get through it.
Yep, we will. One little choice at a time. We'll get through it. We'll be okay.
We listened to guided meditations at night, and one of the ladies' wording is, "You are in choice." Just reminding you, you always have a choice. And I just think that's a great reminder that I have a choice right now to be happy or sad, right now to be frustrated or content. All these are choice. And you might go, so and so just did this and just did this. You can hold on to that. That is your response to a trigger, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds kind of sad, but it is.
No, but it is a choice and a random, like, I find when there's neuroscience to back something up, I'm like, yes. So there was research into emotions and how long it takes for them to pass through our system. And an emotion, let's say anger, for example, if we don't entertain the thought again, in 90 seconds, it's gone. It has neurochemically come through our system. We have felt anger and it has been released. It continues when we continue to choose to ruminate on it, to think on it, to process it, to talk to this person about it, to yell about it, to do this. And so, again, that choice. And I know people are like, but can't I be angry for more than 90 seconds? Of course you can. I'm just telling you that after that, it's a choice.
Yes. I mean, even at the beginning, I figured it was a choice, but you do have to acknowledge that it existed in order to choose to let it go.
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever had any emotion that made me feel bad that I didn't grab onto and use for longer than 90 seconds.
Same. I love to visit, revisit, think about it from this angle, think about it from that angle. And so it's like I'm choosing to do it to myself. It's almost like I'm injuring myself with it.
At the same time, I think a lot of those self-reflections and thinking through those moments have also been helpful. Experiencing that, letting that anger stay for 10 minutes if you want. Let it stay overnight if you want. If you are using it to figure out how to change you, not somebody else or what someone else did wrong, but how do I learn to change my response to this? And then it's being productive. But if you're just wallowing in it and not trying to change things, uh, well, you'll be stuck for a long time. I can say things that happened back in childhood that would keep popping their head up, that whack-a-mole thing. It's like, oh, where'd that come from? Oh, where'd that come from? And now you go, it's gone. I
Mhm.
finally figured out why it kept popping its head up. That doesn't trigger me anymore. But that took a lot of effort to learn. And I'm not saying it's not worth effort. It was 100% worth the effort. But I can't say it's like waving a magic wand. I would love a magic wand to
I
wave and
wish.
fix problems, but it doesn't
Snap our
exist.
fingers and no. Yeah, it's not that way,
And
unfortunately.
I'm sure soon I'll have a 90-second emotion. Guess I'm
I
getting
have yet
closer.
for any validation for anybody out there, I have yet to have just a 90-second emotion, but I have gotten it down to maybe 20 minutes when I'm feeling very dysregulated or very upset about, very triggered. And I feel like that's a pretty good I felt very proud of myself. I
20
was like
minutes is awesome.
I am choosing to be upset about this. Like you said, this day could have been the best day if I just chose to think about this. And so, and I don't do that every time, but I have had a couple times where I'm very proud of myself that I was able to just move on. I can't change anything about this. Thinking about it's not going to make me feel any better. I choose to look forward into what I can do and what I'm doing now and what I'm going to do next.
And I've also, we talk about the people pleasing, which is a part of control and manipulation. And there's also the whole other side of trying to shame or say negative things to make them change their way and to make them, oh, you hurt my feelings and I'm so bad. And those things are just toxic to both of you. And is it worth it? Did it help? I really work hard on not replying to magnify the emotion. Yes, they are in control. I am responsible for how I deliver. You are responsible for how you respond. I can choose to deliver it as nasty and as mean and as sharp as possible. Person can still be fine with it and they don't care. Or they can be crushed to death. Or I could be as kind and sweet and supportive as possible. And the person can still take it as you're being manipulative so either way, it doesn't help.
No. Again, it's that it's the importance of understanding that we don't have control over anybody else but ourselves. And so when we engage in tricky conversations or situations, we have choice and we get to choose how we want to respond or react. And we never are able to make sure someone's going to respond or react in the right way. Like you said, you only have control over your delivery.
I might say, oh, Kitty, I love you. And all of a sudden you're mad and you're angry and you just fall apart. And I'm like, I just said I love you.
Mhm.
But those are words to most of us that matter, that are kind and loving and caring. But to that woman who's been beat and abused and then say, I love you, it's your fault. There's a shame and a fear associated with it. So no matter what word I choose to use, the person may have something that triggers negatively. And it could
Yeah.
be as innocent and kind as I could possibly make it. And it's going to trigger wrong or not like I expected. That was what I meant by wrong.
Yeah, an opposite reaction, right? Not
Yeah.
what we're expecting. 100% because we don't know people's experiences. We don't know the filters that they're pulling that through. And that's again kind of just more validation over the fact that we can't control other people because we don't know what's happening with them and how they're thinking, feeling, whatever. So it's best for us just to focus on ourselves.
I love it. Is there more wisdom we can share or should we wrap this up?
I guess the last little thing I'd like to share is to not see control as a bad thing. That's not my goal, is to look at it as this horrible thing that you have to eradicate from your life. It's more seeing it as a way for you to cope. It's something that you've done as a way to maybe assuage your anxieties or your stress or to manage some of our shame thoughts or our lack of confidence in ourselves. It served a purpose. And some of it still serves a purpose. So I just don't want anybody to feel like I have to get rid of it. It's more I need to understand it so I can use it in a way that moves me forward instead of keeping me stuck.
And it can keep you stuck, but it is also one of those things that you do have control over you
Mm-hmm.
and not anything else. And that's when we finally realize that. I think you quit being as much of a control freak because really I was trying to control other people other outcomes, other things. And when I realized that's not in my power,
Mhm.
it was easier to let go.
Agreed. It's like the little thing they have a saying at the beginning of AA meetings when they say, "God grant me the serenity to um, control the things I can and understand the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference." So it's like, which things do you have control over? What do you not have control over? And how do you know which ones those are?
I love that. Yes. So beautiful. And it's great ending. Like, give me the wisdom to know the difference, you know,
Please.
because
Yes.
sometimes you don't. You just, ah.
Mhm.
Katie, why don't you share with our friend a little bit about you? I know you have a podcast and a book and all sorts of way cool things. So share with us a little bit about you, what you do, how they could get a hold of you. And then, yeah.
All over social media, my handles are Kati Morton. That's just KATIMORTON. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. I have a podcast called Ask Katie Anything, where I answer questions from my audience as well as interview other specialists and other creators doing cool things. And my third book, Why Do I Keep Doing This, is coming out or came out this December. And it is essentially what we talked about today. It is about perfectionism and people pleasing and that illusion of control that can find its way into all different parts of our lives.
Wow. So if there was one thing you think could help our friend this week, what should they try in order to support letting go of some of the control?
I would encourage them. I think this is probably the easiest task from what we've talked about. And I don't say, I guess, simplest, not easy, simplest is to find a journal and to start writing down some of the things that you think you value. The list can be as long or as short as you need it to be, but let's start there because it can help you kind of see maybe where we're putting control into places of things we don't value. And that was one of the game changers for me. And I feel like it's probably the simplest of the tools.
Yes. And journaling, you can do it in the living room while your family's around if you don't want to hide in at your desk. You can do it at the kitchen table. You can do it in bed. You can journal in your car. It's a simple thing to take everywhere with you. And I prefer writing it, but I have friends that just put it in their phone and they sit in their car and
Oh,
do.
I write too. I love paper and pen, but
I,
to each their own. However you
yes.
do it doesn't matter. Just more important that you do it.
Yes. And I think the tactile, I guess either way you're touching it. I just am old fashioned.
Same.
I'm not old, just old fashioned.
Same.
All right. So we're going to try adding journaling if we aren't already and looking at that why. That what is the words you use? If this, then what?
Uh-huh. Like, so if that's true, then what? If this, then what? Mhm.
And go ahead and quiz yourself. If this is true about my day, then what?
Mhm.
Because that's where the curiosity and let the mind just go. So thank you, Katie. This has actually been very helpful for me. I love it. And
Yay, wonderful.
friend, I am not a licensed medical or mental professional. I'm here for entertainment. So I want to help shine a light on your path to get you to where you're going. So thank you for joining and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.